The first step in the Islamic Will and Legacy Plan is to discover, and we use the Islamic Will Workbook to help us through that step. After we click on Make a Copy, the Google Sheet will open, and on this first sheet, there's some essential information that I'd encourage you to read. You want to use this workbook to organize and document essential information for your estate plan. Once complete, it can serve as your estate inventory and provide critical information to your attorney. That means the person who has power of attorney before you pass away, and your executor of your will after you pass away. I'm going to show you how this works with one of the samples that has been filled out. The workbook is an essential tool because it helps you organize information about the things that you own, and it helps you simulate what distribution would look like today. That's what this tool is for. So whether you plan to go DIY with your will, or if you plan to use a lawyer, the workbook here can be a good tool to help you get all of your information organized. On the first sheet here, we fill out the people with their names and their addresses. This is where we put in the executor, the backup executor, and our guardians. If you're not a parent, you can just click not applicable on the guardian side. The second sheet here is where we determine our gross estate. This is an important step. This is the top of the funnel of the Islamic will settlement process. Here we will fill out the asset type. Will indicate whether it's a flowing, i.e. non-probate asset, an asset that is in a registered account like an RRSP, a TFSA, something with a designated beneficiary, or if it's a frozen asset, an asset that's only in our name, a taxable account, etc. We put in a description, the approximate total value of that asset, and then our ownership share. That's usually pretty straightforward if we own an asset on our own. It'll be 100%. But if we co-own an asset, especially if it's a large asset, let's say our home, and we own it with our spouse, it's important to get clarity on what percentage I own and what percentage my spouse owns. And that's especially important in the West because the sort of default legal framework for ownership of a matrimonial home in the West is something called joint tenancy with right of survivorship. And the idea there is that the entire home is co-owned simultaneously 100% by both spouses. And when one spouse passes away, the other spouse assumes the entire ownership of that asset. So there's no splitting of the pie, so to speak. There's actually 100% ownership by both people simultaneously. And then when one of them passes away, the other one continues to own 100% of the asset. So the way that we need to think about this is what in the West they call tenants in common, meaning if the house were a pie, one spouse owns a percentage and the other spouse owns another percentage. Whether or not that is captured in the titling of the asset is maybe another conversation, a conversation that you might want to have with a lawyer. But the idea is that there needs to be some sort of conversation with one spouse about what is yours and what is mine. And that will have a huge impact on the rest of the discover process. In the notes and access details, we want to put in important information about getting access to the asset and maybe the location of the asset. There will be another sheet where we put in where we can find the login and passwords to our online accounts. But here we want to indicate, how do we get access to this TFSA? So here it says Samira listed as successor holder. The login is in the actual legacy folder that we'll be putting all of these sheets in. All right, the next sheet is our deduct sheet. This is where we list out all of our debts and all of our obligations. I'd use this drop-down menu here to kind of jog your memory about different obligations that you might have, including unpaid zakat, unpaid mahr, loans, etc. This will give us the net estate after deductions. When we go to the gift side, we are going to determine people that we are going to gift or our list of bequests. The column that we need to fill out here is the percentage. This number will be generated. So you want to fill out this column over here, and then you want to make sure that the total percentage bequeathed is no more than 33.33% or 1/3 of the net estate. This will give us the residual or residuary estate here, and then we'll go over here and distribute. We'll use one of these calculators. Both of them are really good to determine the percentage of residual estate that goes to the people that inherit according to the Quranic guidelines. So this is the Sharia Wiz calculator, and then if we go back here, there's the Ilm Summit calculator. So you want to fill this out, and then in both cases, you'll go here and copy the percentage that those calculators give you. And after you fill out these percentages, you'll see what the total amount is that that individual would receive in value from your residuary estate. And then we're going to list out everything that we have in trust. So any property, maybe some money that we have, jewelry, so that when we pass away, people know that this set of assets that we have actually isn't to be included in our estate. They belong to someone else. Here we would list out our recurring payments. This is important for someone to continue to maintain, let's say, our home or essential things that need to be maintained or canceled after our passing. And then a place to indicate our access to online accounts. You want to indicate how somebody can get access to that account. Some people might write in the actual password here, and that might not be the most secure thing to do, but you want to indicate how to get access to all of your accounts. And then here we have your checklist. So this is a checklist to go through the entire Islamic will and legacy plan. 3 columns here to help you navigate that. And then finally, this is what we call the Executor Quick Start Guide. This is a sheet that we'll have towards the front of the workbook placed in the legacy folder so that when your executor comes to your legacy folder, they kind of have a walkthrough of how to get things going when they're taking care of your affairs after your passing. All right, when you're done, you're going to click on print. You're going to make sure that you click on workbook, and you're going to make sure that it says fit to width. And then you're going to print off the entire workbook. After we've printed this off, we're going to take the last 2 sheets of the workbook and place them at the front. The last 2 sheets are your checklist and then your Executor Quick Start Guide. We want to take those and put them at the front. The first page now will be our checklist to run through the rest of the legacy plan. And the second will be for our executor when they come and see our plan in our folder, which is right here. So we want to place this in the folder. And once we've done that, we have completed the first step of the Islamic will and legacy plan we have discovered.